many might consider fairly remote Vancouver Island right now. I took the day off for me to do some things I wanted to do and have a little snoop around. Find out the access roads, have a look at the hills, and get back in the timber here. And I don't know if anybody remembers, but a while back I shared a story that my mother shared with me after they flew into a lake called Mint Lake, and it was fly-in access only back then. And I remember I shared with everybody that I was there when I was like that big, and I vividly recall being I just was shitting myself, nervous, anxiety, to go from the front of that old cabin down the steep gravel bank to the edge of the lake to cast for trout, which was probably only 20 meters. And I remember looking over my shoulder nonstop. I'll never forget it. Never told anybody, because why would you, right? But then when my mother told me about the time they flew in as two couples, my dad, my mom, and the owner of the float plane and his wife, and my dad and the other fellow took off in an aluminum boat down the lake to go work on an A-frame cabin they had found where a tree had fallen through the roof. And that would have been on the, where are we here, south, it would have been on the north side of the lake, which I'm now at where am I? I'm at the west end, and I'm above the river, Mint River. I'm going to take you and show it to you. It's pretty cool. So randomly today I decided, spur of the moment, I was going to go up the logging road near that river that I used in an opener of some of my videos. I went there, but there's no salmon in it. I was hopefully going to film some. So then all of a sudden I decided, well, this is the Mint mainline logging road. Maybe I'll drive to that lake today and see if I can find my way around there. So that's what I'm going to do. So anyway, on my way there, check this river out. This is the Mint River. Look at that fresh water. Look at this. How's that for a swimming hole? Pretty cool spot. I've never been here before ever. So, I'm going to carry on. And exposure's messed up in the camera. I'm going to carry on heading east. I'm going to find that lake. I even got the drone with me too. Maybe we could fly the drone and find those cabins. Either way, I can show you the area. Well, looks like there's a provincial campground here now. Look at the size of these trees, man. Look at this. There's some big trees. Big guns. This will be my first time putting my eyes on this lake since I was a boy. Let's go check it out. Let's see what we can see. Nobody's here. It's a beauty chunk of firewood right there. Who mind cutting into that and bringing that home? All right. Looks like I'm at the very end of the lake. No footprints in the mud, no tire prints in the dirt. Remember last time I was here, this was absolutely inaccessible except by a float plane, and had never been logged, no roads, no nothing. Here it is. Huh. That's a little better. There it is. Crazy. Now, if I remember correctly, I think the cabin was way down there. Right along that edge. Right there. The base of that mountain. So the road I'm on continues down the whole length. So maybe, maybe if I drive down farther, I'll possibly get a chunk where we can have a view, and maybe I'll throw the drone over there and see if I can find the cabin against that edge of that lake. Well, this is it. This is where my mom heard that thing go stomping between the cabin and the side of the mountain, which is steep. You see up there? That's where she heard it, behind the cabin, wherever the cabin is, way back there. You see how steep that is down to the lake. She was terrified when she shared what happened. So, what's it like? So what's it like being here for the first time after all? It's kind of weird. It's kind of a little surreal. Is it spooky? I think after the feeling that I had here when I was a boy, after what my mother told me, I wouldn't be too keen on sleeping overnight here by myself. I mean, I would, but it would be one of in the top 10 to-do list items. Anyway, let's carry on and see what I can see what I can find. Be interesting as hell to be able to see that cabin. What's left of it anyway. And these are big trees. Not much sign of human activity around here. Let's see what there was at one point. Here's a spot farther down the lake. Somebody's made some kind of a hole here to have a peek. Looks like it's never been logged over there still. Bit of a view there. Look at that, I was home, what, 2 days? 2 days home. Got a lot done on the barn. and I just had to go out for a little bushwhack and explore. So it's kind of weird for me to not be absolutely familiar with every single road or every single access, every hill, every game trail like I normally am. Had the last 15, 18 years where I was previously living, but I went up an access road. I went to that river that I filmed last year, which is I used as that opener for the videos numerous times. And you can see the salmon in it. And there isn't one fish in there right now. Unfortunately, I was hoping to film some fish to see what's in there. And then I looked on the map and I decided, I saw that the road that I was on was actually called the Namint Main Line. I'm like, the hell that I'm going for it. I'm going to see if I can make my way out to that remote lake. The lake that I was at when I was a little boy. And I made it. And I'm going to start sharing some emails right now. While I do, I'll show you the drone footage I took of that lake. And picture what it must have been like when I was a little boy, when I was 8 years old, flying and landing on that lake. And there wasn't one logging cut, there wasn't one road, there was absolutely nothing but mature timber all the way down to both sides of that lake. And I will never forget the feeling I had when I was there. Absolute just... And I don't know why. But more importantly, when my mother told me about, and I'll refresh you guys again. When my mother told me when my dad and the other man left that cabin to go way down lake, across the lake to the north side of the lake, to go work on that other cabin they found, deserted cabin they found, and her and the other man's wife were in the cabin. And this is exactly the tone and how she said it. She said, something huge walked in between the cabin and the mountain, the back of the cabin. Walked right by the back of the cabin. We were in there. It shook the ground. It was so loud. It was absolutely huge. We were terrified. And I'll never forget her telling me that, ever. And that today is the first time I've been back to that lake. Brought back the feeling. I definitely felt apprehension being there alone. No spare in the truck, wasn't even prepared. I had the inReach on. I did turn the inReach on and told Sarah that I had it on. But I want to bring the Zodiac back there soon. Find somebody who wants to go with me and small outboard. And I want to go down that lake and I want to find that cabin. I know it's tucked back in the trees, so I'm definitely going to go back there and check it out. In the meantime, let's get some email shares out here, alright? Everybody needs to be heard, everybody's gonna be heard, and the truth is being heard. Here we go. Maybe it wasn't a bear after all. Encounter in the 5th grade. Steve, 11 channel. My name is Lori. I'm 71 years old. I have a master's degree in medical science. But more importantly, I've learned something very important about my life. Something that happened to me that I haven't understood till now. I was raised in Northern California. When I was about 11 or 12, I don't remember for sure. Just remember that it was in the 5th grade when I had this encounter. My dad is a scientist, worked for IBM, and they stationed him in upstate New York. We lived there for 10 months. It was a wonderful experience overall. I wish that I could tell you exactly where, but both my parents as well as my brother are deceased, so I have no one to ask. Sorry for making this long, just setting up the backstory. My parents thought it would be fun to live out in the country, as we were city kids. We rented this cool little cabin out in the mountains, not in the Adirondacks, but the Catskills. When we went to school, we had to walk almost a mile to where the bus picked us up. That's right, I grew up in a time when a family had only one car, and you did have to walk a ways to and from the bus. No, not 5 miles and 6 feet of snow barefoot, just the regular walking to the bus. Okay, here it goes. I haven't told anyone the new perception of a life-changing experience that I had that changed my life forever. You're the first. And thank you very much for that, and we all can't wait to hear what you have to share. My brother wasn't feeling well, so he had stayed home. I'm glad he did, so we didn't have to carry this experience with him. Between the bus and our cabin was a section of very dense forest. I always got a little creeped out walking through there, but nothing bad ever happened, so I assumed that it's just because I wasn't used to being in the woods like that. I eventually loved the walk home. Anyway, one afternoon when I got about halfway through this section of forest, I got this horrible feeling like I was being followed. It became dead quiet, which was very unusual. And then it happened. There's a loud bang, or a sound of a tree falling. Following this was this very deep growl and scream, or maybe both. It was so loud, it made my entire body vibrate, like my brain was vibrating in my skull. Steve, I'm really telling you the truth. I felt complete horror. I've never felt this feeling again in my life. I just started saying under my breath, "I won't hurt you, please don't hurt me." I repeated this over and over in my head as I took baby steps towards home. When I got out of the forest, I ran as hard as I could. My mom had started walking my way as I was late coming home. I was shaking so hard I was bleached white, had soiled myself, and started to uncontrollably puke. When my dad got home, I told him what had happened. He called the Forest Service and relayed the story to them. They said it was probably a bear and went and checked out the area. We were also told to bring a pan and spoon and walking through that area, bang them together to make as much noise as possible. So that's what we did. We walked through there. Well, we never walked, we ran like hell, banging our pans. That experience left me with some PTSD. I will not ever forget anything, not even the scent of the forest from that day. I still have hearing loss in my left ear, and it never stops ringing. No kidding. I mean, I've got the same thing. My ears are ringing loud and clear right now. I just went through a few gunshots last couple weeks, but I think that's the first time we heard somebody reporting having the tinnitus from one of these experiences. That's unfortunate. I get horrible feelings and get anxiety when a car is near that has deep bass sound that vibrates your brain and body. It feels so much the same as that scream/roar from that day. I've been terrified of bears. I've even gotten down on the floorboard of our car when my husband and I passed some bears by the side of the road, going through a national park on vacation. I don't even like passing them at the zoo. And that is definitely PTSD, without a doubt. So, this has always been the story of my awful experience with a bear. Well, until I started listening to your channel about 6 months ago. I've always believed in Bigfoot. I just thought that these were amazing stories that were someone else's. Finally, about a month ago, I started realizing that so many of these individuals had experienced a lot of the same things as myself. Light bulbs start flashing. And Steve, I believe what I encountered was not a bear at all, but one of these mystical, terrifying creatures. Let's just say, if that is what it is, I never want to have another experience like it again. Steve, thanks for this channel, for letting me share. Thanks to all of you who have been strong enough to share your experiences. I think that I could start to resolve some of this crazy trauma that sits in the back of my consciousness. I have such a different perspective, one that finally makes sense, about that day when I was in the 5th grade. P.S. If anyone has had an experience like this in the Catskills in New York around 1961, could you please respond? Wow. Well, Lori, I can't say I'm happy that you had that experience. I'm definitely, I can feel your relief that you found this channel and found all these people through me that have had the same unfortunate experience in life, right? And that, you're right, that is a shitty thing to carry, pack around all these years with nowhere to share, and nowhere to find out the truths, right? I'm glad you found us here. You've been a member of the Club of No Return for some time now, right? It's not fair. I don't know why, like I said before, the things that these beings do to us randomly, to innocent people, more common than we actually previously thought, I believe. It's, they're like cowardly acts, you know? Why? Why do they do that to us? Why do they single out a 5-year-old kid and end up absolutely changing their life? Deciding to, just like that, just decided to change the life of a 5-year-old child by absolutely scaring the living daylights out of them, right to their core. It's not fair. It's not fair. Anybody, you know, just going by the numbers of how many people have emailed in here, it sure is common lately. We are getting a lot of people emailing in and saying it's the first time sharing ever publicly, or with anybody else for that matter. And it's becoming more and more common to hear that storyline, right? And so I hope for all of you, I don't know how many of you out there are listening and just stand there in the background silent, gathering as much information as you can, and meanwhile your life's been changed from something you experienced years ago. I don't know how many of you people are out there right now. I haven't a clue. I would never be able to guess. Is it in the thousands, the hundreds, the tens of thousands? I haven't a clue. But follow the example these brave people like Lori is making right now, and go ahead and get it out and get it off your chest, all right? You're not crazy. No one's here. No one's going to laugh at you. No one's going to belittle you. No one's going to change your story. No one's going to leave anything out. You are in an absolute safe place to get this shit out right here, all right? So please do it. And just help yourself. And you'll help yourself by sharing, and help others who are exactly like you by you sharing too, all right? Lori, thank you so much for sharing that experience with us. And make sure you speak openly if you know anybody who might find some relief on this channel by sharing. Show them, send them this, share this video right here, or whatever one you want, all right? And be safe out there. What do we got here? Hope this helps someone. / Michigan Experience, October 2020. All right. Hey Steve, after writing out my encounter and sending it to you, I feel like a weight has been lifted off my chest. Thank you so much for continuing to do this. If you decide to read my email on YouTube, please only read the encounter. I got way too carried away. Sorry, thanks again, and stay safe out there. All right. Well, this doesn't seem to be overly too long. I'm going to start reading it, and I'm not sure what you're getting at. Feel free to use your name. All right, I'm just going to start reading it. Hey Steve, my name is Shane House. Feel free to use my name. Thank you for what you do. The truth is becoming rarer with each passing day. Sorry in advance for my lack of grammar and misspelled words, even with spell check. LOL. I'm from Florida. My dad has a cottage in upper central Michigan. I was visiting last October and finally had the car to myself on the last day of our visit. I was going to a local hiking trail and going to enjoy the beautiful forest. I think it was about 4 p.m. A hazy day with light snow flurries. As soon as I was about 100 feet in the forest canopy, I felt like I was being watched, and it was dead silent. I scanned the perimeter and took my time. My vision is 2010 corrected, and I played paintball and airsoft in the woods since I was 10, and I was 33 at the time. I have confidence in my ability to spot a human in the woods as long as they're not wearing a ghillie suit. This presence felt like a human presence that wanted to harm me. I felt the feeling of a panther wanting to eat me from about 30-40 feet. And this was definitely human in origin, not primal. And 10 times that feeling. That's an interesting point to make, man. I felt it was about 200 to 300 feet away from me. After scanning and not seeing anything, I took out my dad's 9mm that he let me borrow and racked one in the chamber. Put it back in my pocket and continued on the trail, walking slowly and burning holes in the trees with my eyes, trying to spot whoever was watching me. LOL. It was difficult to explain, but the further I went along the trail, the stronger this feeling was getting. The feeling of being hunted was getting so strong that I felt like it was a thick fog. It was like the air was extremely heavy with dread, and I could cut through it with a knife. If it makes any sense. I continued in a small valley. I thought the feeling would subside, and I would be able to see whoever was hunting me. Unfortunately, the feeling got stronger and felt much closer. I couldn't see or hear a single thing. I pulled out the gun and took a few more steps. This sounds really crazy, but something in my mind was telling me to run. I just got the feeling that I had to run right now or I was going to die. I got ready to run and then stopped myself and said out loud, "Why the F would I run?" While looking around, I pulled one sleeve lower on my arm to hide the gun in my hand, as I felt this would give me a small advantage. It was then that my fear subsided and I became extremely angry. I finally got to spend as much time as I want in the woods and something or someone is hunting me, I thought. This also sounds crazy and I don't know why I did it, but I started growling as I was scanning the forest. The feelings of whatever wanted to kill me were extremely close and closing in on me at this time. I still didn't see or hear anything, and it was close, I know, that I should have been able to see it. I felt like it was about 30 feet away now. Then, without thinking, I pulled out my iPhone, turned up the volume, and played the Steel Driver's Blue Side of the Mountain. Instantly, the feelings / projections of whatever wanted to kill me changed from getting ready to kill me to panic / fear. Extreme panic / fear, waiting for a surprise attack maybe? It's very difficult to describe. I could feel it panicking, and I felt great satisfaction. The panic slowly changed to confusion, and the whole atmosphere changed. I was now not going to let this sack of shit deter my hike, and I hiked till my phone battery died. And when it died and the music stopped, my confidence is not as strong. I walked out of there still feeling its presence but far away. This was before I knew about your channel, and I thought Sasquatch / Dogman was a stupid fairy tale. But 2 months later, I found your channel while looking for bear hunting videos and listened to a few Sasquatch encounters. I was shocked and realized I might not be crazy. LOL. Sometimes I just know things and don't know how I know them. There's just this knowledge there in my mind when situations arise. I don't know where it comes from. And it ends up being true as far as I know. I know it sounds really crazy, but it's helped me help a few people. So I think it's a gift from God. I feel like he was watching out for me that day and guided my actions and protected me even though I did not deserve it. I'm not sure if I was being hunted or I just messed with by one of these monsters. I hope this could help someone. If they find themselves feeling like they need to run, do not run. Think about things that make you angry. Adrenaline is a resource, and you can control it through breathing. Use your instincts and all your resources when and how you feel they would be most effective. Also not sure if this would help people, but I feel compelled to share this. When terrible things happen in my life that gave me anguish, sorrow, anger, and rage, I try to grieve as little as possible, and I put these experiences in a box I created in my mind. I call it my anger box. I save these terrible feelings and memories there for a time when I use them as fuel for adrenaline. And I will hopefully use that adrenaline to help someone in a time of need, hopefully turning a negative experience into a positive one. I think this is an excellent way to honor the memory of one who has passed, who you love. Maybe this will help someone out there. We are currently in the beginning of sorrows, the beginnings of the book of Revelations in the Bible. These are the last of the good times before things get really bad. Cherish every meal, smile, and every bit of laughter as much as you can these days. I hope all truth seekers find the most important truth, the only one that really truly matters, that Jesus Christ is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He has true power and strength beyond our comprehension. Thanks, Steve, and everyone for sharing. Thank you for sharing that experience and those words of wisdom. Every share helps, man. Every share helps. Every single person that writes in and shares helps someone, somewhere. With the view. I went way up this deactivated road and I couldn't turn around, so I just kept going. I came out in this tiny logged out cutout. Let's get another one shared. 2 stories. I did try to tell you this before, but I think I was on the wrong channel. I think you're one of the most sane voices out there about this subject. It's actually not a hard thing to be, is it? Alright, sorry, I'm going to get on with this. The setting, about 40 years ago, a cabin in the woods somewhere east of Stockton, California. 6 adults and 1 kid about 6. One night, 4 of us went down the road in single file, and we were armed to the teeth, rifles and handguns. Basically, we were like an army patrol. Our point man was a vet. Anyway, about the time we get to the bottom of the road, I heard something in the bushes. I pointed in that direction, and the guy behind me, he came up and asked, "What's going on?" I told him there was something in the bushes. I suspected it was a deer. Just then, the guy in front fired off 3 shots. The 4 of us got in a 4-point position. The guy in front said, "I don't know what it was, but it was about 10 feet tall." We headed back to the cabin. The guys told me to get in the house while they looked around. They came barging into the cabin. Outside, several feet from the windows, was a large area of manzanita. The guys said they saw a Sasquatch standing partway above the brush. At this writing, I don't think I really saw it, though I said I did. The next morning, we went down the road, and almost at the end, we found a nesting area about 5 feet or so in diameter. We found where the guide shot, and it hit a tree at about the 7-foot level. To this day, I don't know what was seen that night. I do know that the guys were very scared and nervous. I was more curious, though wary. I shared this story to someone who knew some forest rangers, and he told me they have admitted there is something out there. One more, but a lot shorter. One day I tried to see if I could find the cabin. I was driving along with my dog, and all at once I got a very strong feeling that said, "Leave now." I didn't hesitate, turned around, and headed out of there. As luck would have it, my dog needed to do her thing, so I stopped to let her. She took forever, it seemed. I was extremely uncomfortable, and what I sensed there was a rifle trained on me. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. Please don't share my name. All right, I won't share your name, thank you, ma'am. And a little confusing in the beginning. 6 adults and 1 kid about 6. One night, 4 of us went down the road single file. We were armed to the teeth, rifles and handguns. Why would you do that? I don't understand that part. It's like all of a sudden the family decides to get armed to the teeth and go single file down the road. I don't get it. Unless possibly, were you guys there intentionally seeking these things up, possibly, or something? I don't know. Interesting encounter, interesting experience. I'm not familiar with the area. Thanks for sending that in. There's so many. I have literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails from people around the world. It's never going to stop. It's never going to stop. If this was fake, these are all bullshit stories. There is no way. There's just no way anybody can convince this many people to sit down and write out a bullshit story and send it in. It's not even possible. It's not possible. And furthermore, if you did have that kind of influence over the human race, imagine that power that you would have, the things you could do, especially if you're a dark-sided evil bastard. This is happening. It's happening every day, somewhere, something's happening. I want to know why. I want to know why we're not being informed officially, publicly, non-stop about these realities. I want to know why. Here we go, there's another one. Hi Steve, my name is Valen. I'm a 67-year-old retiree and I live in a small town in California. In about 1971 or 72, a close friend of mine and his brother had a terrifying encounter with a Sasquatch in a valley in the high Sierra Nevada mountains. This valley is located south of Lake Tahoe and north of Yosemite Valley. The story is theirs to tell, but I can tell you what happened afterwards. In early 1973, during the winter, my friend, me, and 4 others hiked for 4 hours in the snow into that valley. As we came down into the valley, we saw a track of huge footprints crossing across the valley. These footprints are about 16 inches long with 6-foot strides. We followed the tracks into the trees on the other side of the valley where we eventually lost them. That night I woke to see my friend sitting up in the dark, pistol in hand, waiting just in case the creature that had terrorized him a few years before would return again. It did not. A few months later, now summer, we were back in that same valley exploring around the base of the surrounding mountains. As we searched, we came upon a pile of big rocks. For some reason, these rocks just didn't look right. They didn't look like they had rolled down the mountain and landed like this. We thought maybe it was some sort of marker, so we decided to start climbing up the mountain at that spot. We eventually got to the large granite outcropping and decided to walk towards the end of the outcropping. Suddenly we heard what sounded like a very, very loud inhale followed by a grunt. It was so loud. We all wondered what the heck it was as I took a few more steps towards the sound. Once again, there was another loud inhale followed by a grunt. I could hear my friends yelling, so I turned to see them, guns in hands, yelling for us to get the hell out of here. At that point, I decided the smart thing to do was to run. I turned around and ran, stumbled, fell down, popped right back up, and kept running. We ran until we reached the odd rocks. At that point, we felt safe again, because Sasquatch hunting was not for me. I never returned to that valley and never again went out looking for Sasquatch. I only hike for fun and exercise now, and Sasquatch is now on the list of things I never want to encounter in the forest above mountain lions and bears. I totally concur. One last story. About 10 years ago, I made a new friend and we started hiking together in the Sierra Nevadas and in the Northern California coastal mountains. During these hikes, I would say things like, "I hope there's not a Sasquatch around here," or "I hope we don't see Bigfoot." She would not respond to these comments, so I assumed she just thought I was talking nonsense. A few months ago, she was over my house, and because my wife and I watch you all the time, the subject of Sasquatch came up. I was telling her some of the many things I've learned watching your channel. When she shouted out, "That's what I saw." She told me that a few years before she was driving to California redwoods when, standing at the entrance to a side road, was a 10-foot tall creature with reddish-brown hair standing on two legs. As she drove past it, she thought, "What the hell is that?" By the time she made a U-turn and drove back, it was gone. She had never known what she had seen until that day listening to me tell her what I learned at the round table of knowledge. She's now in the club of no return and is aware that they are out there. It's a blessing and a curse. Thanks, Steve, for all you're doing. Valen, I think I read that. That sounds familiar. I either read that while I was camping alone and just read it for myself, or I already shared it. If I already shared it, I apologize to you guys. Shit happens sometimes, right? But there you go. I mean, I mark all these as read, but sometimes people email me the same story numerous times, and I think I just copy it. Once I realize it's a story, I copy it and put it in the folder. And then it gets read twice, which is unfortunate, right? But there you go. Another mention that backs it up when I tell everybody, you know, like, people don't bring this topic up. They don't bring it up. Ever. You have to look people in the eye, square up with them, look them in the eye, be honest, matter of fact tone. Be honest and respectful, and look people in the eye and you tell them what you know and what you saw. And if you're curious, if they had seen anything, you got to give them that confidence, man. You got to be a safe place to speak. Too many people, too many human beings are not a safe place for people to speak. I think that would really, really suck to be one of those people that make sure that they are not a safe place for people to speak when it comes to the truth about some topics that people just don't understand, don't want nothing to do with, or are too scared to talk about. You know, in the future, there's people out there that are listening, you're not saying anything, you might be one of those people that laugh and scoff out loud and belittle people and want them to shut up when it comes to this topic. Maybe if people bring that topic up to you, maybe you should tell people to possibly just say, "Hey, you know what, this topic makes me feel uncomfortable, I don't want to talk about it, I want nothing to do with it." Okay, fine, and then you don't pursue the topic, right? It's too easy. You know, on that note, I used to be on a popular hunting forum years back here in British Columbia. I'm sure it's still going. And somebody started that topic on Sasquatch. I believe I mentioned this before in the past. And I'll never forget, there's this one character, because everybody has their handle. Nobody ever has their full name in a forum. I don't know why. Everybody makes up a handle for themselves. I don't know why that is, who started that as being mainstream to do it. It's confusing. I don't think it's right. But this guy had a handle on there. He was from Vancouver Brown. And every single time somebody made a post on the Sasquatch thread, on this forum, this guy would just dogpile on him and shit all over him. Non-stop. He never missed a post. He made sure that if anybody ever added to that topic, that theme, that thread, he had something to say with to every single person and every single comment. He did not want anyone to speak about this topic. He wanted to make sure that everybody felt embarrassed or ashamed for talking about that topic. And of course, me, the biggest asshole on there, made sure that I got the last word in every single time. I just delivered common sense, facts, and I never backed down. But I made a point of it to myself. Every time that guy says something to somebody, I'm coming down on him. And I did, and I never stopped. And they finally gave it up. But anyways, what I'm getting at is, I don't understand it what it is about some people when it comes to this topic. It makes them angry, and they want you to be quiet. And if you won't be quiet, they'll try every single frickin' move they can, which includes belittling, berating, laughing at, pointing you out in front of some backup. When meanwhile, I am 100% convinced now it just scares the living shit out of them. Or they had something happen that they've put away and they don't want bringing to the surface. And they need everybody to shut up so their truth doesn't come to the surface. Possible. Right? Yeah, I always look at the horizon. I always look behind me every once in a while. But I don't feel any anxiety or pressure here at all. It feels comfy. So let's get another one out. Titled Encouragement. Hey Steve, I'm just a schmuck from Massachusetts. I'm retired as of giving up a lung to cancer, but I'm all clear after a year. Good for you, man. Good for you. You're a true warrior. Anyway, I've been making it my learning urge on things out in Will X earnest because want to go for a long trip out there west into backcountry off-grid wilderness just to experience it all. I fish and I don't hunt, which brings me to the point. I guess stumbled across your channel and I must say I'm hooked. I must say I love your no bullshit attitude and that you don't care what people think of you, as I don't either. Yeah, either way, I was looking through your episodes and I must say, my friend, you have a purpose. It's purpose, and I want to just reiterate it to you that I watched the episode of you possibly have been gonna get taken out twice by grizzlies because of a bullet that didn't have any gunpowder in it. And my God, I just want to tell you, you have a mission that didn't happen by no accident, my friend. I think the hand of God has something to do with it. And that's all I'm going to say to you. And he uses me in the past for things I have no doubt in it. My name is Harry, by the way. All right, Harry. You keep fighting that battle, man. Don't let cancer take you down. Sounds like it kicked its ass. And believe me, I should have been dead. I don't know how many times now. And I think one of the last couple times when I should have been dead. Actually, the one time with the no gunpowder in my bullets, that was an eye-opener for me when I thought, all right, I'm supposed to be here for something. And I have non-stop been trying to figure it out. Maybe this is it. Who knows? I don't know. But I do agree. Something's when you have so many near-death experiences and you come out unscathed, something must be up. Maybe, possibly, right? I'm going with it. I just go with my gut and keep doing what I'm supposed to do. And the gut always knows. One more and we change venues. Meaning, see if I can find a new view for everybody to check out. I've thought a lot about this experience over the years, and I haven't told anyone until recently. Year 2020. Just out of curiosity, I decided to look up Bigfoot encounters in Idaho, in the Boiling Springs hot spring area. I was not entirely surprised to find a few articles. One about rock throwing that was especially intriguing, which prompted me to write this story and share it, in the hopes that others may have an explanation. Or if others have similar experiences, they might feel free to share it. I didn't see a Bigfoot or smell a Bigfoot or hear a Bigfoot. It's just something that I think is strange that happened to my friend and I. I think I need to give a few background details first. It was the end of August '81. I was 21 years old. Before this event, I regularly went to Silver Creek Hot Springs a few times each summer. It's a couple hours north of Boise, way up in the forest-covered mountains. It was a favored recreational spot. A buddy and I decided to explore and took the Forest Service Road west over the mountain. At the middle fork of the Payette River, we came upon Boiling Springs Campground, the old forest ranger cabin. Boiling Springs Hot Spring is just behind the cabin. The road turns here and follows the river south. We checked out the hot spring behind the cabin and noticed a trail going northward, upstream along the river, and decided to run along it to see if there was anything of interest. Maybe a couple miles up the river, we crossed a warm stream and decided to follow it up the hill to its source. About 150 yards up, we came upon a hot spring. Right next to the hot spring is a cold spring. The hot spring was too hot to play in, so we tried building a dam where we could mix the hot water with the cold water and make a usable hot bath. We didn't really have time to do much work on it, so we decided to go back in a few weeks to finish it up. And then had the bright idea that when we went back, we would take a 2-man rubber raft, carry it up to the warm stream, and when we were done hot tub building, we would float back down the river to the road. The river appeared to be very docile on this stretch. A few weeks later, we did just that. Friday, the middle of September, after camping season was over, there were only 2 cars at Boiling Spring Campground when we started hiking. We parked in the cabin and headed up the river, found the warm stream, dropped the raft at the river, camped at the hot spring, and built a bath, which effort lasted through Saturday morning. At noon, we had enough and we were ready to float the river. The float was great until maybe a mile up from the cabin. The river did something I wasn't expecting. The area immediately around the river is hilly and forested, and you can't see very far. As it came around a bend, I could see that the river unexpectedly fell suddenly on the right side, the trail side of the river. We paddled frantically to the left. As we came closer around the bend, we could see a gravel island with a large tree with jagged broken branches stuck horizontally on the nose of the island, and that the waterway to the left was blocked with a log jam. We paddled hard to the right, but it didn't do any good. We went straight into the jagged tree. The very moment the raft touched the jagged tree, the raft popped, and I found myself underwater fighting for my life. That is creepy as shit. I've seen people go underneath a log jam in a boat before, and the outcome's never ever any good. 1981, life of the stupid raft wrapped around me. We soon came up the other side of the tree and climbed onto the island, cut, bruised, and battered and shook up. All our gear went down the river except for one paddle, one useless, uninflatable raft, and one ruined $500 camera. We looked around for a while trying to figure out the safest way to get across the river. The trail is on the west side of the river. We were too afraid to cross where the island was, as the water was too swift, and in our battered, traumatized condition, we were afraid of the water in a way that we weren't just a few minutes before. In spite of we were both good swimmers, swimming would be last resort. On the log jam side of the river, the hill was very steep, for about 100 feet up, and then fell back out of sight. The surface of the hillside was covered with shattered small rocks, very slippery. It seemed not worth risking injury to try to climb it. At the water line was exposed bedrock, up about 5 feet. Above that were scraggly bushes that remind me of huckleberry bushes. And about 50 feet up were a few pine trees. Climbing here was not safe at all. Looking down the river about 50 yards, the river widened and slowed. It looked like the only way out was to shimmy along the edge of the river. We would have to hang on to those skinny little bushes. We weren't comfortable with that either. We were freezing at this point, so we took off our clothes and put them on some willows to dry. And while waiting for them to dry, trying to decide what to do. It was about 2 p.m., clear and sunny. We were standing side by side on the island with our backs to the hill, logjam side, looking across the river back to the trail, which is a little over 100 yards away. There was a flat, sort of marshy area between the river and the trail. We were hoping to see someone that might be able to help, but didn't really know what anyone could do to help. Plus, we were naked, trying to warm up in the sun. I didn't want to be seen naked. We didn't really expect to see anyone. Up to this point, we hadn't seen any living thing for 2 days, except for a few deer that morning. We were standing for maybe half an hour, not talking, when at this moment, suddenly, and with no warning, there was a loud crashing sound directly behind me. We quickly turned just in time to see a large rock splash into the river about 15 feet away. The rock was rectangular, about a foot diameter, and I guess would weigh around 40 to 50 pounds. We were so startled. We were immediately perplexed because we didn't hear any noise before the crash that would have indicated that something is moving down the hill. I scanned the slope for any evidence of that rock sliding, rolling, and or bounding. I looked for bushes springing back up or small rocks sliding that would have been dislodged, since almost the entire hillside was loose rock. At the top of the exposed bedrock, about 5 feet above the water, was a mark where I think the falling rock made contact. As I said, the hill was covered with a mass of shattered small rocks, and I saw none of them sliding from higher up the slope. I knew the rock had to be airborne because of the loud cracking sound and the large splash. which could not have happened if the rock was rolling or sliding. I looked up the slope into the trees and concluded that the rock must have come from there, but I couldn't see any cliff-like formation from where a rock could have fallen from. It only took a few seconds to conclude that someone had to be up in those trees and must have thrown this rock. At the same time, it didn't seem credible that anyone could have thrown this rock out from those trees. I figured it would have to be thrown about 40 feet horizontally to come from where the trees were. I've thrown a lot of rocks, and I don't think I could have thrown that rock for more than 10 feet. The world record for 20-pound rock is just over 40 feet. The terrified look in my friend's eyes said it all. Where the hell did that rock come from, and how did it get there? After standing there uncomfortably naked for a few seconds, believing that someone must be up in the trees, I yelled out, "Who's up there?" There was no response. We listened intently for someone who might be hiding, to say something or giggle or whisper if there were more than one person or anything. We stared intently into the shadows of the trees for any movement and saw none. I thought, if someone is up there, there must be a trail. This hill's too steep to get around on without a trail. I looked intently all along the hillside, looked for evidence of a trail, and if there was a trail, we could get the hell out of there. But could see no trail. I yelled again, "Who's up there? We need help." Still no response, no sound of anything. I had all sorts of ideas running through my head. I imagined there being some muscle-bound giant hillbilly asshole or a giant biker dude who might be strong enough to throw that rock that far, trying to scare us. We stood there staring and listening for at least a half an hour. The sun was bright overhead and made the shadows a little difficult to see in, even as close as we were. I figured it was a game of chicken. They didn't want to reveal themselves while we were staring, and I didn't want to stop staring until I saw something move or make a sound. We strained with all of our attention, staring and listening. No movement, no sound, nothing. It seemed so highly impenetrable that anyone else would be right there on that hillside right at that moment. Whatever caused that rock to land directly behind me had us scared, as we just couldn't believe that this rock came down all on its own accord, and so close, and unnoticed before the loud crash. We had no intention of spending the night on that island. We finally concluded that to get out of there, we needed to shimmy along the river, which we did nervously, very slowly, and with much difficulty clinging to that skinny, craggy bushes. The whole time watching above for another random rock come flying down upon us, about 50 yards. Down the river, we nervously crossed it and got the hell out of there. Anyone reading this, logically, I think, that the most likely explanation is that my friend threw the rock without me noticing, and then played scared the rest of the day. We were standing side by side and turned together, and there's no way he could have tossed that large rock across the river. If anyone knows how rocks just fall out of the sky, I'd like to hear all about it. Alright, there you go. 40 to 50-pound boulders don't fly through the air, do they? You're not the only one to experience that, right? It's a detailed share, man. Detailed share. I'm glad you guys live. Most people don't live when they wipe out in rivers and go into log jams. The river never stops, right? I used to guide people on a river, fishing. People would always go wading out into some sketchy spots, and the waders trying to get that cast from that spot. I always try to explain to them, if you screw up in a river, man, the river doesn't stop. That pressure does not stop. There's nothing you can do about it. Anyway, let's get another view going somewhere else and get some more shares going. And then I gotta get back to taking care of business.